Hey guys, sorry, I didn't realize that the time had already started. Okay, there it goes. Hey everybody, welcome back. This is like the second live today, pretty much, when it comes to, I guess, some true crime people. Yeah, I guess this is a true crime situation. So, I know this was a request that by maybe like a couple of you guys had in the previous video that I did earlier today when I looked at what's her face, not what's her face, when I looked at John Benet Ramsey. Okay, see, this is also why I said before that I really am not like a true crime person like that, because true crime people, in my opinion, are fucking rude, in my opinion, especially whenever they think that they are the detectives in the case. They're just rude. So I can't deal. Some of those of you that have been, hey Karina, those of you that have been around me since the beginning of time, you guys know how I am when it pertains to rude people, because I'm not rude. I let people do whatever people want to do. I let people have their own world. I let people be in their own imagination. I let you have that because that is your world. And I'm not really sure why rude people come and bother me when it's just as simple as, if there is something said that you don't agree with or that you don't like, you don't have to listen. You could just move on to something else and let it be that. But I just don't like rude people. And I kind of had a feeling that that was going to be the situation when it pertained to me putting up that the video when it came to the whole John Benet Ramsey situation. I don't have time because again, I don't really do internet stuff. Me and you got to meet face to face, because I'm not one of those internet type of people. We have to meet face to face because I want you to see how serious I am. And I also want to see if you're going to bring that same energy to my face, because then we could talk about it. So I just cannot deal. And to keep me to keep me at peace, it's just gonna be unlisted. I didn't delete it. It's still there, but I'm just going to um unlist it, okay? Because it's like, don't piss me off. Seriously. Anyway, I'm gonna get that out of the way. And that's just gonna be what it's gonna be from moving forward. I'm not gonna deal with rude people. I'm going to delete you. I'm going to block you. I'm telling you something. If I knew where the hell you was at, I'm gonna come for you. But anyway, so I already have the chart pulled up in the background, or his natal chart. I do not have Alex Murdaugh's birth time, because I don't even think that we're going to get the records for that. I mean, and I think you only really get the birth time if like they talk about it and somebody else mentions it, or if they're like a politician or something like that and it becomes public record. But outside of that, I don't have his birth time. But I did go ahead and input the chart in my astro system. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen actually in just a second so you guys can see. So I just used 1230 for his birth time since I don't have one. Okay, so let's see. Here we go. Okay, here we go. This is Alex Murdaugh's natal chart. Again, I don't have the exact birth time, so we're just going to kind of like ignore that. But born on the 27th of May, which would make him a Gemini. Okay, I mean, these Gemini sun people are, I mean, they're not making the other Geminis look good when it pertains to these crimes. Okay, so something needs to change when it comes to that. But yeah, born on the 27th of May, Greenville, South Carolina. Now, I believe the place where the killings took place was like Connell County. I don't know what the name of the county was, but it's different from where his birthplace is. I don't know how far it is from Greenville to wherever the killings took place. Okay. But either way, so hold on. There's this thing in the way and I'm trying to move it. Where did it go? Okay, there we go. All right, so you guys, we're going to go down this just like normal, okay, when it pertains to me looking at the natal charts. So, of course, we're going to start with the day that he was born. So, he was born on the 27th. Now, of course, we're going to break this down and we're going to break it down to a single digit and we're going to get to the number 9. Now, the number 9, which is the end of like the numerology chain. Okay, we were talking about numbers. Number 9 is associated with the planet of Mars. He has Mars in Gemini in the 10th house, in a very public house, in an angular house. The 10th house normally is that which belongs to Capricorn. Okay, if we just take away all the data and just start from scratch and have Aries as house 1 and go all the way around to house 12, Capricorn will be on house 10, which we also know that, Capricorn tied to Saturn. We're going to talk about that Saturn in just a second because, I like to look at that when it pertains to like your destiny, but also Saturn can represent the end of one's life. Okay. Has the death penalty been introduced or has that been a topic possibly when it pertains to the crimes that he committed? Again, I haven't looked at the case because I'm not engrossed in true crime like that, and that's just me, because there's other stuff that I would like to do. Anyway, so with him being born on a 9 day, okay, and you have Mars in Gemini. So we know the number 9 is also tied to Virgo. Okay, Virgo can be tied to the specialist. We also know that Virgo has that stigma of being like the perfectionist. Cleanliness, I guess. Maybe, I don't know if a lot of Virgos are OCD, maybe not necessarily OCD about their own space, but maybe they're like OCD about other people's spaces, which is kind of weird, but we'll just go with it. But the highlights when it pertains to number 9 can be leadership, a leader, which would make sense because he already has Mars in the 10th house of public, kind of like in the 10th house of like leadership in a way. So in a way, with him being born, okay, him being tied to a 9 to 5 or, him having to like work under someone probably was very difficult for him. Okay. But also the number 9 can bring a sense of somebody who has a good humor. It can bring compassion. Of course, it depends on the situation. It also can bring selflessness, and it also can be one of inspiration. Okay. Now, with Mars being here in Gemini, okay, and we know Gemini or Mercury is like the salesman, he may have even possibly been one of those people where you could bring this person in and he could close the sale. Because his moon is also in Gemini, which can kind of be like kind of shifty, but also he may be somebody where he can carry on like 2 conversations at once. But even outside of that, you have to watch this one because he can easily like play on your emotions. And before you know it, he may sell you something that you don't necessarily need, but you've kind of like gotten distracted by what he's saying. I don't know if he possibly talks with his hands, or it may even possibly be the complete opposite. He may be somewhat of like a bore, but still what comes out of his mouth is like it's hard for you not to listen to. It's like captivating, I would say, in a way. But either way, so to continue forward with this number 9 energy, like I said, since it's like his Mars energy would play a big factor in his life, by the way. And we know Mars is tied to blood, guns, knives, war, I don't know, law enforcement, possibly when it pertains to Mars. But anyway, so the challenges that one may face when it pertains to Mars or this number 9 energy is you want to be a rebel or you rebel. If let's say if he is somebody who was supposed to be facing disciplinary action, or if he was somebody who you were like, okay, we're going to have to let Alex go because, there's some things going on and we're not really rocking with the way that he is, it's going to be kind of hard to remove him out of that office. I'm only saying that because his moon and his Mars are conjunct one another, and it's applying. So he may have an uneven temper, but it's not immediately in your face where it's like, boom, here comes the fire. It's a gradual thing. It's almost like climbing steps, one step at a time, one anger thing at a time. Okay. And then poof, the big blow. Okay. But another challenge here with this 9 energy is self-importance. So a me type of attitude can be. And we could possibly say that his me attitude probably came out more so when it pertained to his career, or when it pertained to being a leadership. I mean, he may even possibly be someone who may have or who is quite insecure. So his passion or his drive may have came simply from, I need to prove everyone else wrong. I need to prove to everyone that I can do this. Even if that wasn't even questioned by other people, for some reason, like I said, it's within him where he just feels like I have something to prove. Okay, because a lesson that needs to be learned with this number 9 energy is that you got to drop unrealistic expectations. The unrealistic expectations of expecting people to love you exactly the way you love them. I mean, I get it. Or, expecting people to give you exactly what you give them. We also could have an energy of one that can be quite controlling. So I don't know if he had his own company, but this could be someone who can be quite domineering, okay? Especially when it comes to emotionally speaking. It almost kind of gives that vibe of someone that may even possibly follow you around the house because you're not giving them the response that they're looking for. So they may taunt you. I mean, who the hell wants to live with that? He may have definitely been somebody who was very difficult, very hard to live with. Okay. To piggyback off of the rest of this, when it pertains to lessons that needs to be learned, he may not necessarily know how to take no for an answer. That could be number 1. And number 2, he likely needs to learn how to accept things as they are sometimes. Not saying that's always going to be the case, but he may have had a difficulty with that. He may still have a difficulty with that. Learning to accept it for what it is. Okay. So I'm going to look at degrees and stuff like that when it pertains to Mars and the moon. And I think the sun, because it looks like Mars, moon, and the sun are all conjuncting one another. But another thing as well, I'm just now noticing that looks like his moon is squaring his Jupiter. And I can't tell if that's his Venus. Oh, no. His sun is squaring his Jupiter, and also his Venus is squaring his Jupiter. So he himself may even possibly have some issues when it pertains to being a father. Okay. Self-fulfilling, or he may be one of those parents where he kind of wants you to fulfill things that he didn't get a chance to fulfill, but you're putting a lot of pressure like on your kids by doing that. So even though he has Jupiter in Leo in the first house, I'm going to say it's possible that he may not have necessarily been the best husband. He may have been one of those husbands where he's too busy focused on being like the showman, trying to put on a front maybe in some type of way towards people that I'm this good husband, I'm this, I'm that. So people that possibly knew him that weren't, of course, his family or his wife, they may have just been utterly shocked, like, wow, I mean, that doesn't sound right. He wouldn't do anything like that because he's always like laid out the red carpet for people whenever we have, who knows, gatherings, parties, but you don't necessarily really know what's going on behind closed doors, which we'll look at the 4th house as well, because we'll just look at the 4th house in a minute. But anyway, so we're going to take a look at this Mars moon connection. Hold on, let me go here. Where is it? I think it's right here. Yes. So his Mars is conjunct his moon, the planet of emotions, but also the planet of the mind. So in this particular instance, I'm kind of, and the moon and Mars are just making kind of like negative aspects. because they're making a negative aspect to looks like to Pluto, excuse me, and that's about it. So this particular combination can be one that gives wounds, causes accidents, ailments, okay? And it can sometimes bring death. How ironic is that? Okay, because with this Moon Mars conjunction, it can represent impulsiveness and recklessness. Because think about it, when you combine the nature of Mars and the nature of Moon, do you really think that's going to be a balanced person with a balanced attitude? Probably not. Okay. And another thing as well, since Mars is sitting in the 10th house, which is in an angular house, is in a very public house, this particular combination can also represent that the good name that you have pretty much takes a nosedive. It suffers through slander. And that's pretty much what's happening. But prior to the whole murder situation, something like this may have happened during the time that he was in like the peak or in the middle of his career. Because remember, I said you may have a hard time firing this guy. It almost gives you that person where, he may start throwing things where when you like come to him and you're like, look, we're gonna have to let you go. It's like, what do you mean you have to let me go? And then it doesn't happen immediately. Like it's gonna take a second to register, and then you just click. Okay. So I don't know how his dynamic would have been at his company if he owned one, or at the company that he worked for if he worked under somebody, but likely not good whenever you come to him with some unfavorable information that unfavorably affects him. Okay. Now, another thing as well, this particular combination can make somebody very, very disagreeable. So probably, his maybe or possibly, since his first name is Alex, letter A is tied to Mars. So his career could likely be tied to war or law enforcement. And like I said, with this aspect of Moon Mars, and I said somebody who's very disagreeable, probably a great arguer, very argumentative. It just like you don't listen. And remember, I said this is that person that you probably would call in to get the sale, because he's not going to let you tell him no. It's just not going to work. I mean, who knows, maybe a little bit manipulative, or his anger is just the manipulation tactic that he uses. Maybe. Or maybe scare tactic, however you want to label it as. Okay. But also, this combination can bring difficulties with the opposite sex. So I don't know what his track record would be in this instance when it pertains to women. But I mean, hey, there may have been maybe some questionable things that may have possibly happened in his past. I don't know if that came up, or it's just one of those things where, they buried it. They just didn't necessarily want to talk about it. Okay. And maybe it started possibly because we know the moon can represent the mother. We know the moon could possibly represent the moon. The womb, excuse me. He does have moon, looks like squaring Pluto. So this possible imbalance when it pertains to his emotions, possibly this erratic behavior, this kind of like on and off switch type of thing that he may have did with his emotions, it may have started early on with his mom, maybe not even really knowing exactly how his mom felt about him, or you just never know the type of response that you're going to get from your mom. Like, is she going to be angry? Is she going to be this? Is she going to be that? So early on, the environment for him may have been very unstable, possibly emotionally. We're not talking about financially speaking, but possibly, like I said, unstable, emotionally speaking. Okay. Also, I'm not sure if maybe he took care of his mom financially speaking, but if he did, I mean, his mom could have possibly been manipulative, possibly as well to him. Like, it just feels like his mother is a wound, but it just feels like it's possibly because, her feelings towards him were never really like consistent. So like I said, that's him always guessing. And maybe that also could play into why he was having difficulties with the opposite sex. Maybe his mom in some sort of a way. Or maybe he was looking for his mom to make him feel like, that he is handsome, that, hey, anybody would be lucky to have you. But that may have been conversations that just weren't necessarily had. So, that can create a little bit of an issue, because then you start trying to seek that validation in possible other people. And then when you don't get that validation, we have an issue. It almost kind of reminds me of that energy of possibly Jonathan Majors. I think I kind of wrote about that on my Twitter account. I wrote a little bit about it whenever it came out, the whole, unfortunate situation with the alleged domestic assault. And now they're trying to, go through all this stuff to try to prove that he didn't, but who knows what the truth is, to be honest. But I was kind of getting that same vibe with him whenever I looked at a certain aspect in his particular chart. I don't remember what aspect it was. Pardon me. But either way, okay. So, oopsie. Now, with his moon making a conjunction to his sun, this particular aspect can also give changes in circumstances of just life in general, as well as business, especially business for him, since it's in the 10th house. So I don't know if maybe even something happened, and again, in his career, and he had to maybe like, it's almost like find other representation, or he had to find another company to work for, because it's possible that maybe what he did, he violated something in some sort of a manner. And it was just like, okay, you definitely cannot work here anymore, because do you not know what you just did? What you did is a pure violation. I mean, it's bad. So, and remember, Mercury does rule thieves. I'm only saying Mercury because he has the sun in Gemini, moon in Gemini, Mars in Gemini, as well as Mercury in Gemini. So he may have possibly stole money, because, Pluto can bring money. Okay. Let's not get that twisted, because we know Scorpio is naturally tied to the 8th house, right? The house of inheritances. So we know Pluto can be big sums of money. And he has Mercury square that, as well as moon square that, as well as sun square that. So I don't know if maybe he kind of like did it for insurance purposes or money purposes. Maybe his wife came from a big estate, or I don't know her, I don't know, like, maiden name or anything like that. But it kind of reminds me of Scandal. If you've gotten that far into Scandal, where Jake Ballard, if you know the Jake I'm talking about, Jake Ballard, he married that woman because her ancestor was like George Washington or something like that. And the money that she was sitting on was like so big. And they needed her so that they can win the election, and so that they can put who they wanted to in the White House to, push their agenda. I'm not saying that he was trying to push an agenda, but like I said, maybe his wife came from big estates or big wealth, and that may have possibly been maybe the reason why he decided to marry her or wanted to be with her, because maybe he wanted her estate. It almost reminds me of someone, who possibly comes from like a family who like maybe bred horses that maybe, won in the Kentucky Derby, or just had, a very good reputation when it pertains to their business. Or it could be coming from a long line of doctors, because his Pluto is in Virgo. And we know Virgo, I tie Virgo to health. Okay. But also, well, I wouldn't necessarily say Virgo's employees. Employees is more so 6th house, but either way. Okay. So, I was saying that he stole some money, maybe either from his wife, or it may even possibly been in his career, possibly. Okay. Let's see. Where'd it go? Okay. So another thing with this moon and sun aspect is also can be good when it pertains to promotion, as well as gaining more or gaining prosperity, which is what I was talking about before, that maybe he stole. And, he does have his Venus at the last degree of Taurus is on a karmic degree when it pertains to his wealth. I'm thinking that his wife probably was the one that had the money that we assume that he has. Again, I don't know her background. I don't know where she comes from. But it seems, again, it seems very calculating, because he had it's like he may have had problems getting married, because he also may have been very career oriented as well. Okay. And it's possible that maybe the women in the office that he were dealing with, they were like trying to avoid him like the plague, because to me, it doesn't give me, even though Moon and Mars can be warmth, it's not giving me warmth in terms of being in this person's presence. You feel like something is off, but you don't necessarily know what's off. But then at the same time, you don't want it to be where he's like, I don't want to feel like I'm being an asshole, because maybe I'm just, not reading this person the right way. But it just feels like he rubs people the wrong way. It really does. Okay. Anyway, so let's go look at the degrees. Like I said, I would assume that he probably is in something tied to law, using his words, or like I said, it could be law enforcement, or it could be possibly writing, maybe teaching in some sort of a way. It's kind of weird, because I also get this vibe from him where it's like I'm getting him yelling at somebody. It's like, I'm going to teach you to not be sassy with me. So, possibly definitely ruling with an iron fist in some sort of a way. But it feels like, most of this heat, most of this anger seems like it was maybe towards his wife. Maybe his wife wasn't really attracted to him like that, or it just, like that connection wasn't really there. So maybe in some sort of way, he held resentment towards his wife, maybe in the same way that he could have possibly held resentment towards his mother. I'm telling you, I think that him and his mother, therapy, maybe they should have went to therapy, because it just seems like it's wounds there that you would really want to work through before you probably take on a wife. But, he was born during that time. Maybe he really didn't believe in therapy. Who knows? Okay. And another thing as well, he has a 10th house stellium. Yeah, he has a 10th house stellium. So he also may be someone where he will ruin your reputation, even if he's wrong. And that may be why maybe people were like afraid of him, especially those who possibly were like lower than him, or maybe even his superiors. Who knows? But it's like that person that'll go around and spread gossip about you in a way, and you absolutely know it's not true, but he's so damn convincing. Now he's like turned the whole company or the whole neighborhood around on you. But possibly, like I said, likely a thief, stealing other people's wealth. It's almost like he can't help himself. For some reason, whenever I looked at his chart, I'm like, I'm surprised this one didn't get busted for like grand larceny or something like that. Because it's like, you can't keep your hands in your damn pocket, like a pickpocketer. But anyway, so let's look at the degree that his Mars is on, since that's kind of like a big bulk of his energy here, with him being born on kind of like that 9-day in a way. So Gemini, 13 degrees, acting, accidents, we talked about that. Unharmonious, again, we talked about that as well, when it pertains to not really having good luck when it comes to the opposite sex. Okay. Lustful nature and plunder, or AKA stealing. Stealing. But the crazy thing is what is the movie? It kind of reminds me of, I don't know if this was in that movie, Aaron Brockovich, or maybe it wasn't. Was there like a lawyer in that movie that was going around houses and trying like to convince them to do something? Or maybe I'm thinking of something else. But anyway, he kind of reminds me of that person who, like, not necessarily saying that timeshares are bad. I don't know. I don't really know much about timeshare, but it kind of gives me that vibe of somebody where, they're going around to people and selling them a bullshit product that they absolutely know is going to fail, but it doesn't matter because you just want to get the cash anyway. Maybe even stealing other people's pensions, maybe even possibly stealing other people's retirement. Hasn't there been a case like that recently where somebody was doing that, stealing people's pensions or stealing other people's retirements? Or maybe I'm thinking about something that hasn't happened, but I feel like I've heard about this before. Okay, let's check his moon position, right? Okay, so with his moon being on the 10th degree of Gemini, it's tied to fortune, gifted, fond of own family, great doll of money, grasping nature. Remember I said you can't keep your damn hands in your pockets. And then his 6th degree of Gemini, which his sun is on, is brilliant intellect, steady and quiet existence, good looking, happy marriage. Now, I've kind of like looked at Alex Murdaugh. Maybe I haven't really looked at the pictures from him early on. I mean, I guess good looking would be subjective. But I wouldn't really say good looking. But like I said, I haven't looked at early pictures, so who knows? But I'm just not getting it. I'm not getting it. Okay, I'm not getting it. Okay. Steady and quiet existence. But again, with that sun conjunct the moon, it's almost just like, why do you find it difficult to just be happy with what you have? You have to go to these particular extremes. You start to be shifty. Like, why? Why is it necessary? So it's almost like that saying holds true where it's, it's like nothing's ever going to be good enough. And maybe people possibly, because we know moon represents the public or people may be kind of like wondering that as well. They may be wondering like, what the hell did you not have? Why would you want to ruin your life like this? What the hell is going so wrong in your life that you would want to do something so stupid? But again, his Mars, since like I said, it plays a big factor to me in his chart, conjunct that moon, that's where that impulsiveness is coming from. What was it? That Mars moon, where'd it go? Yeah. Feverish, impulsiveness, recklessness. Your period of influence goes down, or seldom goes by without some sort of loss of blood. That's whenever Mars is conjunct the moon in an angular house, and the moon and Mars are in an angular house. So we may have a repeat offender. Remember, his Mars moon conjunction says this period of good name, or to get your good name, that doesn't happen without a loss of blood. So maybe he's killed somebody way before we even knew about, what happened when it pertained to like his wife. And I don't know the other person that he killed, because that's just that's just what we're looking at when it pertains to that particular aspect. So in order to get but remember I said, it's very likely, or it's possible, okay, not saying that's definite, it's possible that his wife is the one that held the coin purse, if you know what I'm saying. So for him, and hopefully it's not a situation where he's trying to put his name in lights for some reason. But I said before, he may be somebody where it's like, it's never enough. And with him, like having that 10th house stellium, we know the 10th house is very public. I don't know if he's one of those people where he got to be seen, so maybe trying to be flashy in some sort of manner. Remember I said, he's like that husband who's going to roll out the red carpet in some sort of manner, but you may not really want this red carpet to be rolled out for you. And you see how he has his Mercury on the 28th degree. Now, I've read before that the 28th degree can kind of bring, I don't know what the proper word of it is, but the 28th degree is, I don't know if they call it fame or they just call it like you have like that long lasting fame, I would say, in a manner. But in his particular instance, it's not good. Okay. I looked at the sun, didn't I? What was I looking at? I forgot. North Node in the North Node in the 8th house, Chiron in the 8th house, in Aries. Oh, I was talking about how it's probably not his first time that he's probably killed somebody. And I know if I'm saying that Cavalier, I kind of get that vibe from him where even he probably would have said a Cavalier to you. Like, it's that you're having a conversation with him and he says something and he may even possibly brought it up in like a joking manner, but nobody really questions it. He could be saying, oh, haha, yeah, I told him if you don't be careful, I'm going to off him. Ha, 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 ha. And then other people with him are probably laughing, but yet they don't realize that he probably offed him before he came and talked to you at this party. So that's why I'm like, he may have more bodies buried underneath his feet in a way when it pertains to this whole situation. Okay. So he has Mercury square Pluto and also Uranus, right? I'm trying to make sure. And Pluto at the 20th degree. I feel like I've seen that degree somewhere. I just can't remember what the degree says off the top of my head, but I'll look in just a second. Okay, so square. Okay, so with his Mercury squaring his Uranus, this can give difficulties in connection with a literary work. But it also can bring like animosity when it comes to the press because they're criticizing him. Has he been criticized before? It had to be something tied to money. So this isn't his first rodeo, probably in the news for doing something egregious. Maybe the first time, again, like I said, was possibly tied to money because, again, with his Mars being on a degree of stealing, then maybe, okay? But also, it also brings into contact with occultism. And this particular aspect is also one tied to impulsiveness. This can make the spirit sarcastic, sharp, and very unreasonable. What is it with these? I don't understand. This is what I don't understand. What is it with these murders or murderers where it always seems like there's a tinge of occultism at play? What is that? I don't understand. But I mean, I don't know if some cultures are really keen when it pertains to sacrificing things in order for you to get something else. I mean, I'm sure it probably is some out there. Okay. And maybe he explored that in some sort of a way. But this is giving someone who would do anything in a way to have that great doll of money. So it's all I don't know in the sense that we could say it was fated for him to have money. Maybe it was, but damn, did it have to be in that particular context where you have bodies underneath your feet? Or you are acting, I really do feel like he acted interested in his wife, but I really don't think he really wanted to be with his wife. But there was a reason why he acted interested in his wife, because she had the estates that he wanted. And estates we could also, associate it with, she had the money, she had the purse. Okay. Not saying that he was broke. Who knows? Okay. Because it may, just because it says one thing online, it doesn't mean that that's the story. I mean, there's been a lot of celebrities who will come out and be like, that's not my net worth. Okay. That's just something that's put up online. So, I don't know what the saying goes. Believe only half of what you see and half what you hear. I don't know what the saying is, people. Okay. So in Pluto, right? Mercury. Let's see. Oh, Mercury is making an aspect to Jupiter as well. Is it a sextile or is it a trine? It actually may be a trine because it's pretty close. Oh, it's a sextile. Oh, sorry. Trine is, that's too close for a trine. So Mercury sextile Jupiter separating. Okay. So Mercury sextile Jupiter can be a good aspect for public speaking. Remember I talked about that. I said like a wordsmith and gain through public speaking. It refines the spirit. Hold on, guys. Got an intruder. Okay, so where to go? Where to go? Where to go? I lost my train. No, I didn't lose my train of thought. I lost my. Okay, there we go. It refines the spirit. It makes honest and upright, and is a great help with all mental work. Under this good influence, we should do as much of our work as possible. So again, it goes back to what I was saying before. It's not the fact that he wasn't going to be able to achieve this sense of money. He totally could have did that. But the way he went about it is almost, I just don't really understand. I don't understand why people do what they do. I'm not here to try to understand that, to be honest. Because with this good aspect right here, as it says, he totally could have did that. Who knows? He could have been maybe a good public speaker, or maybe even a good teacher. Like I said, if he was in the field of law, who knows? He could have possibly been a good law professor, or he may even possibly been someone who could have been good when it pertains to teaching people about investments, teaching people when it comes to stocks and bonds. He could have did that, great. But for some reason, his spirit took a turn where I don't know. Like I said, hopefully he wasn't dabbling into the occult as per the aspect. But like I said, I've been seeing a pattern here from charts, because it was kind of like in Jeffrey Dahmer's chart too. What is it with them? Like their spiritual world, or the spirituality, or the occult world, whatever, the underworld, whatever you want to call it, they step into. Why? Why? So it's just, and it's crazy to me how it's almost like you can look at people, real life human beings. It's almost like they don't mean anything. You look at them, they're just objects. Oh, who cares? It's like, where is where is your conscience? Where is that? And it kind of comes across that way. Where's your conscience? Like you had no conscience. Like, oh, okay, I slit your throat. Oh, well, what is that? But you know what? Oh, I don't think it's close enough, because there is a fixed star, I think, called Agile. Is that 26 degrees Taurus, or is it 24 degrees Taurus? I'm about to look right now. It might be 24 degrees Taurus. Nope, it's 26. Oh, it's pretty close. It's pretty close. 26 degrees in 10 seconds, and his Venus is on 29 degrees and 58 seconds. I mean, it's pretty damn close to that. Agile right here. Primitive female sexuality, strangulation, beheading, danger to the throat and neck, murder, violence, mass catastrophe, the evil one, the demon star, passionate, intense, hysterical. What if it's like a walking demon in some sort of a man? And I'm not saying, because some of you may have this fixed star conjunct like a personal planet. I'm not saying that, that is the case for everyone, because the thing is, primitive female sexuality, you can control that. I mean, even if I indulge you, even if it is a demon and then somehow embedded into you, and you are a demon seed walking, you can still control the demon. Maybe use the demon for only getting rid of the bad guys, like be the, I don't know, like Batman for Gotham, control it. Or what's the movie? Like Constantine, be like him. It's like, yeah, I might have a little bit of a demon seed inside of me, but I'm going to go kill the other demons. There we go. But it's almost like hurting innocent people. It's like you can't help yourself. And maybe, hopefully not. But what if it was like a sense of arousal for him? Because he has that very strong abundance of, like, I guess, sexual energy, because we talked about that before multiple times with that moon Mars. So what if it kind of was like, and I'm not condoning it, but what if? Okay. Now, he also has another fixed star, and this is exactly conjunct his Venus, which his Venus in this particular chart will be signified by his wife. Okay, where to go? Back to the sheet. Okay, so Pleiades, the seven sisters, accidents, blindness, violence. I was kind of thinking that homosexuality, feminine power, unfortunate. Now, I don't know if he was gay, but I don't know if that's even been put out there. Okay, if that is a possibility, what if it's a situation where, what if his wife or maybe not necessarily, gay. What if he could be maybe bisexual? But what if in a way his wife kind of like possibly held that secret and maybe she kind of like accepted him for, those experiences that he had, which is fine. But I still feel like in some sort of a manner, he really didn't accept himself. This kind of feels like somebody who is like itching to find out who they are. Like you want to be somebody, even if it's in the worst way possible. But again, he has that fixed star, almost 2 fixed stars on top of his Venus. So it's like she was doomed. And I hate to say that. She was doomed. And it's probably very likely she didn't even see it coming. Because again, to me, I kind of get that vibe from him when it pertains to the wife, where he would probably go for someone that can accept that kind of like Mars moon energy and not really hold it against him. But she really should have held it against him and been like, you know what, look, we can't do anything moving forward unless you go get help with this. And it may have been, and she may have even ignored things that he may have possibly said, outbursts that he may have had, and just been like, maybe he's just having a bad day. See, this is one of those things where you got to pay attention to the red flags and get out while you see the red flag like waving right in front of your face. Okay. But another thing as well, it kind of feels like he was jealous of his wife. Again, I do feel, like I said before, that she came with some cash and he may have definitely been jealous because, what if she accepted herself for who she is? It's a possibility. Being with somebody who, if somebody's with you and you accept you for who you are, that can make them very uncomfortable because they don't know what the hell to do. Because it's like, why the hell are you okay with being you? Like they see that as a threat. And I just think she was like oblivious, almost maybe oblivious in a manner where it's like, he would never do anything to me. So let's actually take a look at the 29th degree of his Venus, since, like I said, that would represent his wife. And without a doubt, since I've talked about that before in the past, when it pertains to, Venus, wife, Jupiter, husband. So with his Venus being in the 10th house in Taurus, we know Taurus is tied to what? Banking, finance. Okay, but also is in the 10th house of career. So he likely would want a wife to be very career oriented, very career driven, maybe even to be, who knows, a CEO, maybe even have her own business. Money laundering is coming through so loud in this particular chart. So I don't know if there's been news articles or something like that in the past where he was money laundering. Hopefully his wife didn't know about it, but I wouldn't put it past him, because we already saw that he has the aspect for it. He has the placement for it with this with this Mars and Gemini. Okay. But 29th degree of Taurus. There we go. Yeah, there we go. Bad for eyesight, thoughts that make you cry, sorrow, judgmental, facial injuries. Damn, fame. That's unfortunate. Did he shoot her in the face? But remember, I talked about before with his Venus being situated on those fixed stars. Remember, I said, you have to get out whenever that red flag comes up. And the way this degree is coming through is, his wife probably did a lot of crying, okay? Because it's almost like she doesn't want to see him. It's like you don't want to believe it. It's like, I don't want to believe that the person that I married would do stuff like this. Completely innocent bystander. And that's unfortunate. If there was any type of like money laundering, and if somehow they came out and said that his wife has something to do with it, I don't think I would believe that. I think she probably had no idea. Okay. But that's just unfortunate. And of course, this 29th degree is on the degree of fame. And guess what? His 10th house ruler is Venus. His Venus is at home. Okay. And another thing as well, with his Venus being at home, it's in a sign of its comfort. He could totally just go on with life and probably have this outlook, and me and you wouldn't even understand. It could be like, bro, You just killed 3 people. How can you still sit up here and smile? How can you still sit up here and just be like, hey, life is life? He may still have that attitude even now, even though even though he has blood on his hands. It's still just like, okay, it's Friday, you know, like, with him being in jail, he may be like, oh my God, it's Friday today. We're having cookies. It's like, I just don't understand how you could even do that to like a psycho, a psychopath. So, and maybe that's why, if he killed somebody before, maybe that's why he got away with it for so long, because his demeanor, it didn't show that of somebody who is feeling guilty for what they did. It's just like, going in, killing somebody. The next day, you sleep just fine. The next day you wake up, especially women. Maybe it was a woman that he may have possibly, of course we know he, killed his wife, but maybe there's another woman that was possibly a victim in the past. Maybe even possibly somebody, could be maybe somebody younger or something like that. But without a doubt, his wife did not see it coming. She wouldn't have even saw it coming, but what if it's one of those situations where, what if she possibly did get to that particular point where she was maybe starting to wake up a little bit more, like, wow, this really is that person. So what if in some sort of manner she was even possibly thinking about making an exit, and he possibly could not let that happen? Because if he lets that happen, guess what she takes with her? Her money. You're not going to have it anymore. That's a problem. Okay. So, unfortunately, this is somebody who will probably sell you out, kill you for $1, and sleep fine at night. So I said, like a psychopath. I was going to look at something else. Let's see if he has any fixed stars conjunct the planets I already talked about, conjunct Mars, conjunct Moon, or Sun. Let's see. What is it? It's 6. Was it 13, 10, and 6? Okay, let's see. Okay, here we go. Hades, scandal, Jesus Christ, scandal, violence, disgrace, imprisonment. Would you look at that? Is that on top of his moon? I think so. Yes, and he was born on a Monday, wasn't he? And it's conjunct. Nope. It's a conjunct his sun. Oh, okay. And his sun would be considered his first house ruler, because we have Leo. Leo is tied to the sun. So that particular fixed star Hades is exact conjunct like his chart ruler, which is on a point of scandal, violence, disgrace, imprisonment. Oh, it was bound to happen. I don't be understanding how these people be skating by for so long, and then like nobody picks up on their shenanigans, and then the time comes, and then I don't know. I don't know. It just doesn't make any sense. See, I'm too much of a watcher. That's just me. I watch people, and I know that probably sounds weird, but I really do. I watch people. Not intentionally, unless I have to, but that doesn't really happen a lot. But yes. Okay. And that was another thing as well. I don't know if you guys know much about human design. I'm not like a super fan of it, but there's like bits and pieces that I look at that I learned. So the other day there was like this human design app that I downloaded, and it gave you like a complete breakdown of your chart. And I forgot which section it was, that said in my HD chart, if I look at something, I can just look at it. I don't have to interact with it. I don't have to touch it. I go based off of the colors, and I can kind of like break it down in a manner. Like I can pick up like on the energy it's going to give, or I know it's not really weird to me because I can see that. But anyway, I just thought that was pretty interesting because that sounds like me. That's why, I'm not one for the bullshit because I see it. But anyway, let's see, Moon and Mars. Let's see if there's any fixed stars on that. Oh, his moon is 10 degrees, isn't it? Yeah. Yes, moon 10 degrees. Okay. So 9th degree of Gemini, Aldebaran. I don't know how you say that, but anyway, Bull's North Eye, a royal star, Archangel Michael. Remember I talked about that demon. I'm not calling Archangel Michael a demon, okay? But remember I talked about that. Archangel Michael, the Watcher of the East. You know what? As soon as I said the Watcher of the East, I got a depiction of like a guard for the underworld, and they like have the I guess they have like the scepter or they have the spear in their hand, and they're kind of like standing at the edge of the cliff, and they're just like waiting for people to come to the gate to get in, I guess, to the underworld or whatever the hell they're going. It kind of gives me that type of energy when it pertains to him. As soon as I saw Watcher of the East, I immediately got the picture, the cloak, okay, or like the little bitty is it the scathe, something like that. It's weird. Anyway, eloquence. I told you he's a talker. High honors, integrity, popularity, courage, warmongering, agitation. So we talked about that already. And his Mars is 13 degrees. So this one may play a part. Where's the degree at? Yes, 13 degrees, 18 seconds. So yeah, it's right on that. So this would count as well. Cursa, currents of fate, fluctuating emotions, irreversible changes to the rhythm of life, sense of oblivion. But this particular fixed star says that it is fortunate. This one right here, Regal or Orion's foot, we can't count that. It's too far. Okay, let's see. I mean, that's just very interesting. So that kind of even adds up, even to the degrees that we talked about, as well as the aspects that we talked about whenever it pertains to his charts. Especially with that chart ruler being right on Hades. It was bound to happen, whether it was going to be his wife. It could have even possibly been somebody that he represented. It could have been possibly somebody in his company. Yeah. Maybe not necessarily a client, but who knows? Because your business partners are seen by your 7th house, right? Yes. I don't know why I'm saying right to you guys, but yes, business partners, business dealings can be seen by the 7th house. And is his sun moving away from Saturn? Let's take a look. It's an inconjunct. Okay, so it could have been a client. That could have been the victim here. Wife, client. Okay. We could say maybe his client in a way, or business partners in a way, could have been or were represented by Saturn and Aries. Okay, so I don't know why I keep thinking about the lawyers from Erin Brockovich, the ones that come in and they kind of like play on your weak moments, because it wasn't like the water messed up or something like that, and then they pretty much end up getting taken advantage of by the lawyers who are supposed to represent them in the case to get compensation back for like the disease that they caught. It's given that, like what's her face's husband? Erica from Real Housewives, Tom Girardi. Same. It kind of gives me that. You know, if he was a lawyer, I would probably maybe compare him to him, which is probably but probably sad. Not the killing part, though. Okay, so what else can we look at? The end of matters. 8th house is Jupiter. 4th house, his end of matters ruler, which would be Mars. Oh yeah. It's like doomed from the first breath. I know that sounds terrible. I know that sounds bad, but it doesn't always have to be that case. This is simply all his fault. Okay. We cannot look past that. This is all his fault. Okay. But the end of matters, we could say maybe in this instance, the end of matters, how he deals with maybe endings. He would deal with endings in a very Mars type of way because his 4th house is on Scorpio. And we know that his Mars is on a degree of stealing. So remember I said it will be hard to walk away from this person, because do you guys know the meme that goes around, or that video that goes around, Denzel Washington and Jamie Foxx, whenever they did the interview, and Jamie Foxx asked Denzel Washington something, and he was like, I'm leaving here with something, you know? That is the vibe that Alex Murdaugh has. When you leave him, I'm leaving here with something, whether that be blood, your bones, your money. I'm leaving with something, you know? He doesn't play fair. You know, some people, how they handle the end of matters, they may start a business. They may start working out. They may lose a lot of weight. Shoot, they may change their hair color. I don't know. They may have a baby. They may move to a different country far, far, far off of the face of the earth. But not this guy. He deals with them in a very Mars type of way. Unsettling to your spirit. I'm telling you, he is just not settling to your spirit. And also the fact that he can sit up there, like I said, the next day and look you dead in your eye and act like nothing happened. Psychotic, like I said. Okay. So yeah, that was it. I didn't really want to go over like that much stuff, really. Oh, I didn't really look at his Mercury. His Mercury's on the 28th degree of Gemini. Most fortunate and prominent in charts of major success, wealth, fame, tuberculosis of the lungs. Remember I said he was going to get it. And it's unfortunate that he decided to go about this particular way. This is what happens whenever you don't want to put in the work to earn it. But, I don't know. Maybe he came over into this life to cause destruction. Who knows? Okay. So there's that. Hello, people that are popping in. Stephen, I don't know who Stephen Smith is, Karina, but like I said, my guess would be in this particular instance that, it feels like he's a repeat offender when it pertains to killing people or harming them. Maybe not necessarily, offing them in that way, but harming them. That's why I say I feel like he's quite insecure because he does not know how to deal with, like I said, being told no. He does not know how to deal with when people just don't want to be bothered with him anymore. Like he takes that so personally. But that's what it is. That's the challenge. That's the lesson that needs to be learned of that non-energy. You have to learn to accept things for what they are sometimes. And if that means that I don't want to deal with you anymore, then you have to learn how to accept that. It can't turn into this whole thing where you want to ruin my life or you want to take something from me because you feel slighted. I may just want to be done with you because I feel like you're not really a good representative when it pertains to my situation. And I'm entitled to do that. I don't have to stay with you. So, that's why I said before, maybe his wife should have maybe put some expectations on the table. Like, look, therapy, something, some talking to when it pertains to how you are. But, she continued forward. I think she got bamboozled a little bit, led astray into being in this particular connection because his public speaking type of thing that he has going on. And then plus that Jupiter, Mercury, Neptune aspect. Jupiter, Mercury aspect trine. We know Jupiter represents the husband. He sweet talked her draws off. And I hate that for her because she should have ran the other way. And maybe people around her may have possibly told her, look, maybe you need to think about this before you just decide to say yes and do this but for her, it almost feels like it was love. And for him, not so much. And that's unfortunate. Completely innocent. So guys, if you don't have any questions, this is going to be the end of it. I did not realize I had been talking for an hour. Okay, I didn't realize that. But yes. So if you are watching the replay, you can drop some more suggestions on natal charts of these crazy people that you want me to read. Okay. Other than that, I appreciate every one of you guys that stayed through it, stayed around. And I'll see you guys next time, whenever that's going to be, because I don't know at this particular point.